Hi, my name is Kristen Jacobson. I'm the Executive Director with Youth in Arts, and I want to welcome you here today to our exhibition, The Art of Process and Progress. At Youth in Arts, the creative process is just as important as the end product, the art that hangs on the wall or the performance on the stage. It's all about what the student has to say, their identity, and how they question the world around them. So we want to share a little bit with you about what you're going to see today. In 2020, Youth in Arts started to engage in a conversation with community members about social justice and racism here at our doorstep in our community, and how public art could be a vehicle for change and progress in this major issue plaguing our nation and our community. As a result of this in-depth conversation over the course of numerous months, Youth in Arts stepped in as an organizational partner to collaborate with a mentor artist, Oren Carpenter, and to recruit and convene 10 youth emerging artists from Marin County with diverse backgrounds and perspectives. And that's exactly what we did. We're excited to share with you their thoughts and their ideas on these deep topics presented by their mentor artist, Oren Carpenter, the lead arts educator at Marin Catholic and has been there for more than 15 years. He's also partnered with Youth in Arts in various ways over that time, and we're so excited to have him as a lead mentor artist for our project this summer, the C Street Project. So here to talk about it is Oren himself.
A few things. Definitely one, the work, of course. Wanted to see as far as their skill level, if they were able to conceptually kind of create something visually. And looking at the confidence in their mark making. Especially as a teacher, that's one of the things I tell students: we all have a different voice. And knowing that these students were diverse and had a different approach to their artwork, I wanted to see that they had confidence in their mark making. I think the second thing was also just kind of their story, because as artists, young or old, there's always a story behind the work and behind the person. And so I was hoping that their experience and their background and things about them would actually exude even through the portfolio that they present. And I know with schools, the portfolios are pretty limited, but you still can kind of see a little bit about who they are. So those are some of the key things that I was looking for in the selection. Well, I knew coming in, one, that it's a heavy topic, dealing with social justice, whether you're young or old, again. And so I wanted to make sure that they felt comfortable with the subject matter. I wanted to also just get a sense of their experience with the subject matter. As I said earlier, all diverse, coming from different backgrounds. And so that means we all have a different approach to dealing with what social justice is. And so I wanted to see what their experiences were, what they thought about, what they knew about, their knowledge of it. And so how I started the process, I had 3 basic words that I wanted to actually have them create or begin the process with. And that was liberty, equality, and freedom. And so with those words, I then wanted to see what their approach was to visually depicting what those words meant to them, their experiences, what they've heard, what they've seen. Once we went through that process, that's when we then started the process with the actual mural device or project, excuse me. Well, similar to what I thought was an attribute of the students coming from different backgrounds, that also can be a challenge, especially dealing with the youth. And I think all of us, whenever social justice is the topic, we all kind of come with a different experience, but we also want to make sure that one, even in those discussions, because it is heavy, that we're not offending someone based on our own experience or based on something that we want to say. So we're a little apprehensive about being open and transparent in the discussion. So that was the one thing I was worried about, the students not really being authentic and honest. But I didn't find that to be a problem with the students, which I really loved, because they were so transparent and authentic with it. And I think it's them from the beginning of getting their viewpoint on those 3 words, because that allowed them to be in that space, that allowed them to feel comfortable about going deeper into the discussion. I think they all were excited, and I think that's why they definitely applied for it and submitted work, because they wanted to be a part of this. And one thing I would say definitely about this generation and this group, this is a topic because they were so embedded into this movement with social justice and all that's going on. that they really have something to say and they really want to say something. And so these students who applied, you could tell that they use art as their voice to speak on matters like this. So I think that was definitely key, and what I really saw one of the strengths coming from this group. I think especially at this age in high school, and this is something I tell my students, high school is what I consider to be identity theft. That's where students, and we all, even if we think back to our high school days where we were trying to figure out who we were, and I feel art is that vehicle that allows students to really express themselves in an honest way and not worry about being judged, not worry about them having to be, not be honest and authentic in that voice. And so with that, dealing with social justice, which is another hard topic, this allowed them to be creative and expressive and to share their own experiences in a visual and creative way. Again, with art, we know art is something that we wear close to the vest because it's so personal. Regardless if you're a great draftsman or a great artist or not, we all feel a little insecure about our abilities and our artwork. And so I wanted to open up that framework to where they felt comfortable with this group in presenting their own identity. And once we did that, the conversations was just so natural, as if all these kids actually had been together for a while. So you could see the trust and the confidence in that. And so once that happened, that's when I didn't explain what the next phase was going to be, that we were going to actually group and kind of discuss these 3 different topics. And then just get their feedback, what they felt was strong about the piece and not what they felt was weak, but what they felt really didn't tag into what the subject matter was. Once we went through that process, the conversation and collaboration was so authentic and so good that it was actually easy for us to transition into the final stage, which was now let's kind of create together a mural design for our topics. Well, I love the angle that Owen Martinez, who actually kind of created this concept, after we went through and looked at everyone's piece as they presented it, I love the direction that he came from. His direction was actually using flowers as the key subject matter for social injustice. And with flowers comes so many different meanings. When you think about the diversity of flowers, which we think about humankind, right, mankind, diverse, but there's beauty in all of the diversity. And so he wanted to use flowers to kind of speak on that aspect. Also, he wanted to use flowers because we think about the seedlings, the growth, the transformation with flowers, hopefully the transformation dealing with social justice, going from such a dark place to hopefully there's hope and light coming at the end. And speaking of light being something key in the transformation for flowers, also with the hope and change. So the flowers is the one key point and element there. The second key element is the diversity in the actual people that are there. And what I love about this, basically they were necessarily non-representational, meaning that they really didn't have faces. They had different colors. Even in some of the people there, he used skeletons to kind of talk about different elements. Generational aspect, also the fact of if we took away the layers of the skin and muscle, we all had bone underneath. And I know a lot of people feel that that's kind of a cop-out in a conversation, saying that, oh, we all look the same underneath, but it's a fact. And I think it's also something that we have to be reminded of so we can move from the surface aspect to where we see each other and think about the depth of each other. And so that's the second key element. And I think the third for me is basically the tree. If you see, you'll see in the left corner of the piece, this beautiful large flower that actually has 3 blossoms on it. And those 3 flowers represent Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd. And so even when we got into this discussion, that's something that the kids agreed upon, that even though social injustice has been around for years, that the turning point was due to the past year of those 3 tragic deaths. And so we wanted to pay homage to that, and also homage to hopefully the hope and change that will come. There are many elements in this piece, but for me, those are the 3 key elements that I hope will actually strike conversation with everyone who sees the piece, and then hopefully dive into more some of the subtle elements that are there in the piece as well. So the challenge for these young minds was to create a piece that will be open to everyone to kind of dive in, and then when they realize what the topic is, they won't shy away from it. That now they'll be engaged to want to have more conversations. So for me, I think that's what I was really proud of in that final product, and especially the fact that it was our youth who actually created this piece to challenge us in that way. Be honest in your creation, be honest in the process, trust the value of what you create. I think with our youth and ourselves, we always undermine our own value and worth, not only as ourselves, but even our ideas. And so that's one thing I was definitely proud of our students, is the fact that they knew the worth and value in what they had to say creatively and verbally. And that's what I always want to say to my students is trust your worth, know your worth, and share your worth. And so that's what I definitely want to leave with them.